Hello, welcome to Monte Blanco, welcome to Bennett's BikeSocial. I'm Michael Mann. Yes, Monte Blanco is the circuit, and it's just outside Seville in southwestern Spain, isn't it? Yeah, we're here with Suzuki, who have brought us along to test ride the new for 2024 Suzuki GSX-8R that you can hear in the background. We have got track sessions, we have got road sessions. So this is the bike available in 3 different colours. This is the black, the blue is just there, and the silver is somewhere hiding in the background. It's 8899. It's available in dealers now, this week apparently. They were taking deliveries. We've got some, the only difference between this and the standard version is these Dunlop Sportsmart TT tyres that we're using for track. But yeah, very much based on its sister bike, the GSX-8S, which came out this time last year. 8899 puts it a little bit higher in price, but the main differences are the fairing, of course, and the suspension. So it's Showa, the upside down forks are Showa, still non-adjustable. They were KYB on the previous version. Showa on a monoshock rear as well, that is adjustable for preload. 810mm seat height, 15 litre tank, TFT screen, riding modes, but yeah. Okie dokie, here we are then, Monte Blanco circuit. I hope that the wind noise isn't as bad for you as it is for me. Though I'm speaking into a microphone and I've got earplugs in. I'm also hoping that you can hear the engine note as well. So this is our outlap. Just going to get familiar with, get the tyres warmed up. Several different layouts of the circuit, and today I've been here twice before, but today we're using the majority of one that I've used before. But normally you turn left here and go into that chicane, which takes a bit of the speed out of this uphill right-handed blind. Look, so far this is a fantastic bike, really good fun. And it kind of proves that you don't need to concentrate too hard or take too much notice of a spec sheet. But of course, as we know, this bike is not an out-and-out sports bike, an out-and-out track bike, and therefore there isn't a massive amount of ground clearance. I mean, there's plenty of ground clearance, but if you are going to take this bike on track, then be prepared to hoover through the hero blobs. Well, hello and welcome to the road section, the road test of the 2024 Suzuki GSX-8R. Hell yeah! So, we're doing this in a bit of a funny way because we've already ridden on track, and we did 3 sessions this morning, 25 minutes each, around the Monte Blanco circuit, which has got a very long straight. It's got some fast corners, some tighter corners. The main thing we learned this morning is that the engine torque is incredible, and hello mate, hola mate. The engine torque is incredible, and you can always be in a higher gear than what you think you should be, and this is a hell of a fun motorcycle, really good. The word fun is a terrible way to describe a bike because, you know, its interpretation is subjective, and anyone could, oh no, big train. And look, motorbikes are designed by very clever people who have got a target audience in mind. This bike, fantastically versatile, really practical, but no, it's a stunner so far. Ooh, mind that curve. So the bike itself is virtually identical to the GSX-8S, which came out from Suzuki in 2023, so this time last year. It has this R has the same 776 parallel twin engine that you can also find at the V-Strom 800 as well. Between the S and the R, the GSX-8S and the R. There's no change, absolutely no change. It's identical. The same goes for the chassis, steel tube chassis, and the subframe. So, yes, £8,899 is the price of the bike. That's on the road, includes all your costs. That the bikes were being delivered to dealerships this week. And if you were looking at a PCP deal, then put £1,000 down as your deposit. Over 36 months, you're paying £133. Let's just go back to the engine. So, 726 parallel twin, yes. Despite its twin nature, the 8S did a very, very good job. It was very well represented in our group test we did last year. We all thought it was very, very hand supply, very capable bike. It was only beaten marginally by the KTM 700 Duke. It's got Suzuki's balance shaft in it, so it takes a lot of the vibes that you would traditionally find with a parallel twin and makes it a bit more of a B-twin, so it's smoother in a way, but it's still got a lot of character in it, which is like, oh hello, we're stopping here, righto. 776 parallel twin, so 82 brake horsepower, 57 foot-pounds of torque. Peak performance figure isn't particularly high, especially compared to its rivals, many of which are about 10 more brake horsepower at peak. It really is the torque figure of the GSX-8R that sets it aside from the others. Not only is it higher on paper, but certainly you can feel it. I mean, we talked earlier on about the performance on track, particularly around the choice of gears. So it's got so much drive in the low rev range and mid rev range. You don't need to use masses of revs, and it quickly does run out. I mean, the red line's way up there at just under 10,000. And you feel like you do want to rev it. If you were going on a spirited road ride, if you were going to ride it on track, the engine makes you want to rev. You feel like you should be, you feel like you ought to, but you don't need to, because then that's that crisp bit just above the mid-range. And what's great about that is a sort of flexibility with the engine. It means that in terms of a target audience, it's so vast, it's so wide, the criteria, the how good this bike is for so many different types of people. You know, when a designer is creating, when an R&D department, a product development department, a marketing team even, when they're putting together the ideas for a new bike. Now, whether that bike uses an existing engine, whether it's a whole new platform, I'm already likening it to the old Honda VFR 800. You know, yes, it would be able to do track days, but that's what it's not. That's not what it was designed to do. But what this can do as well, similar to the VFR, is do those sort of long distance stuff. You can do the commuting, can dash about town. There's so much range to it. And I'll tell you what else, on that National Sport Bike Championship, this bike is eligible for it. And with the right kind of package, I think that it could be a really strong contender against some very, very good rivals. I mean, it's a new championship, and a lot of the bikes that are going to be eligible for that championship are going to be some of the new bikes for 2024. Yes, the R7, the R66, they are, of course, eligible. And they've been kicking about for a year or two. So they've had that development time. They've had that the time to get into proper race trim. And they're going to be fighting it out at the front. And also, they're the bikes to have on the American version of that particular championship. And all of a sudden, we've got a whole raft of new contenders, including this Suzuki. Suspension. So the S comes on KYB, front and rear. Non-adjustable front preload, adjustable at the rear. And that is the same in terms of adjustability on this, the R, except that these are Showa, or Showa, however you like to pronounce that. So yeah, Showa is in for KYB. Non-adjustable at the front, preload adjustable at the back. You need a C-spanner, it's not a remote adjuster. Second big difference is the bearing, of course, because this has got the sportier feel, and that's the reason why, going back to myself, that's the reason why that suspension is different, because the Suzuki suspension allows for a more stability at higher speeds, is what the engineers were telling us. And on track, the freeload was set at number 6 bolt at 7, which gives it a slightly higher pitch at the rear, whereas on the road we believe that's 4 out of 7. And honestly, I find minimal difference. Yeah, and then the bearing, combined with the handlebars. This is an aluminium handlebar setup. Each bar is bolted onto this sort of top yoke. I don't know whether the S have got these. No, in fact the S is different, isn't it? So you've got the handlebars, which in terms of their position are further down and further away to give you that sportier riding position. The detail is pretty cool. If you start to look at the little nuances of how it's been designed and where the vents are and how it creates this airflow. Yes, so other than that, the frame is exactly the same. Steel tube frame steel frame, and then you've got the subframe bolted on. You've got the same dimensions with wheelbase, and you've got same brakes. So they're disc calipers on the 310mm twin disc to the front, single at the back. And you've got the same electronics, of course, so that's the 5-inch colour TFT screen. You see it's white background at the moment. It automatically changes as and when the light changes, so as it gets darker, it'll go darker. They've got SDMS, so that's Suzuki Drive Mode Selector. You've got A, close throttle to change it, B and C. I'll leave it in A, open the throttle again. A is the most, well, I don't know whether it's A for aggressive, but it's the most instant, so it's almost got 1-to-1 power. Peak power in A, B and C is all exactly the same. It's all about how you get there. So A, for example, if you've got the throttle open 20%, then you've got more power from A, less power from B, and less power from C, even less power than C. But they all kind of meet up at the top to peak power. In my conclusion, I'm going to be talking with, well, hopefully Simon, who's in front of me, with Hargreaves, who does a lot of work for BikeSocial with reviews. He's here to promote his Front End Chatter podcast and the YouTube channel. I'm hoping that he can talk to me on camera about the rivals as well, so I'll hold off from talking about them too much right now. 50-litre fuel tank, random place to walk, which in theory gives the claim is 63 mpg, which would offer a full tank range in excess of 200 miles. When we rode the S, it was far from it. Then we got mid up to high 30s mpg, which took that tank range down to about 120 miles. But it's a really neat package. In fact, the whole thing is neat. I mean, you can see here on the sort of the display and the back end of the fairing, everything that's in front of you, even the wiring's quite neatly tucked away. There's a really good quality finish about this bike. Yeah, the quick shifter's all right. It's okay. It's better than not having a quick shifter. I don't think they spent an extraordinary amount of money on it in terms of its development. It's a little bit rudimentary. It's not the slickest, quickest of quick shifters I've used. And quick shifters have been around for some years now, so you'd have thought that, in terms of development, they would have got a bit better. But when you're downshift, you have to make it's a reasonable throw to get it down, to get the spring back to normal, back to neutral. Neutral, that's a bad term to use when you work gearboxes, but when you're going down the gearbox, it's that throw where you've got to make sure that if you're going down, let's say you're going down from fourth to second for a corner, and you want to go fourth to third, second, you can't do it as fast as that. You've got to wait till the lever's all the way up, and you always got to take the weight off of the lever. Mirrors are good, really decent. I mean, they stick out a bit, but in terms of their job and their adjustability, grand, yeah, cracking, easy. What this bike has got is a easy start system. So it's got one touch system on the ignition, but it's also got easy away. I don't know what it's called. It's you shouldn't be able to stall it. So this apparently is, according to James from Suzuki's press office, this is one of the best roads he's ever ridden. It gets twisty and twistier. It's very pretty, isn't it? It's a very comfortable bike. I feel like I'm sitting quite far back in the seat. The seat's not particularly long. So if those people who want to move back in the seat, or who are carrying a bit of extra Christmas weight around the middle, as I am, they might want to move back in the seat and not, hug the tank. There's not an awful amount of space. There's not a lot of space. It's such a delight to ride this. It's really easy to ride, for one. And being quite sporty, it's very much like the S was. Nimble is an overused term, but it's a really appropriate term. The steering is light, it's very precise, it's nice and accurate, but it's also very smooth. I'm going to try and get the name of the tyre correct here. Please forgive me, Dunlop, if I get it wrong. So they're Dunlop Sport Max Road Smart 2. There you are, I think I got it right. These are the OE tyres for the road. These are the OE tyres. And we are on them on the road. We're on some Sport Smart TTs for the track stuff earlier on. And actually they've warmed up very, very quickly, but it's 20 degrees I think today. The sun's coming down a bit now. It's 5 p.m. here. So the shadows are getting a bit longer and it's cooling off a bit. But yeah, I mean, so far so good. The Dunlop's done a good job. I've got no reason to complain. Brakes are alright, as well. Again, I found it on track that they did a really good job. Of course, you're overemphasising their use on the track by the speed at which you're going, especially into turn 1. So you're hitting... Oh no, this is going to test my maths. 211 kilometres an hour, I think it was, down the main straight. Probably a little bit more, 214, I think. Which gives you about 130 miles an hour. Now this road glistens, it's sparkling. Can you see it? Anyway, 130 miles an hour, and into turn 1, you can't leave your braking really quite late. And there's no sharpness. The ABS doesn't kick in unnecessarily. So that was impressive. And that bodes well. That gives me lots of confidence for the road as to how it's going to behave on the brakes. Because even when you brake, let's just try it again with it. It's hard to demonstrate. It's even harder for you to feel what I'm feeling, of course. Anyway, it's prime example down the hill, so I'm going to on the brakes, and it pitches a little bit on the forks, but it's not terrible. It's not uncomfortable. It doesn't upset or... Oh no, we've got... What are we suffering for now? I tell you what is handy about this bike. In terms of its handling, or in relation to its handling, is the fact that it's got a 180 section rear tyre, which I don't believe is commonplace in this particular sector. And that gives it really good stability. Oh, we do need second for that bit. What you don't get is a whole lot of space underneath the pillion seat. With a quick look earlier on.
So, as promised, we're going to talk about the rivals or the competitors to the 8R, and I've enlisted the expertise and the help of Mr. Hargreaves. Thank you so much for availing yourself. Matey, first of all, look, is it fair to say that this is a new sector or a revitalised sector? How about that?
It's very much revitalised. I think there've been this kind of like soft sports bike for many years. Honda CBR 650R has been around for a long time. You think of Kawasaki's Ninja 650, similar kind of concept. But this is a resurgence. It seems coincidental that we suddenly this year have a little glut of these bikes. There's one glaring absence, which is Honda's CB 750R,
right,
which you got to believe they're going to make at some point. But apart from that,
they've got the engine, haven't they?
They've got the engine. But apart from that, we've got Honda CBR 650R, we've got Triumph's upcoming Daytona 660,
Yes.
And we've got Yamaha's R7.
Of course, the Honda and the Triumph are new also for 2024.
Yes, new, yes.
In inverted commas.
Yeah,
well, the
yeah.
Triumph, of course.
The Triumph is, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And you know, it's to go alongside this, and that's well, I keep referring to the National Sport Bike Championship as a bit of a go-to step, but of course, the majority of people who are interested in any of these bikes are primarily for the road function.
Yeah.
And where does the Suzuki stand out?
It's interesting because this class has got different engine configurations. If you think of the last time everybody talked about 600s, they were all inline fours.
Of course,
so now we're talking about
4.
2 parallel twins, and we're talking about an inline triple and an inline 4. So that gives it a bit of spice and a bit of variety from the Japanese manufacturers anyway. I mean, we are sort of leaving out, there are some outliers like Kawasaki ZX-4RR, which is kind of around about the same kind of price, but I think that's going down a properly sports route. I could be wrong, not ridden one. And Aprilia's RS660, which is at the other end, it's over 10 grand, so it's kind of out. So really it is a straight fight between, well, the 3 Japanese and Triumph, of course. I nearly called them Japanese then, didn't I? I shouldn't do that. Thai, perhaps, but anyway. Yeah, so yeah, different engines. And I think the thing that makes the Suzuki stand out is this bottom end grunt. It's this sort of like tuning that gives it a more road focused engine. We keep talking about it. It is a bit flat at the top end.
Yeah,
I think you'll agree.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's what makes the Suzuki stand out for me.
Yeah, definitely. I've mentioned it about 1,000 times, I think, in the onboard commentary and earlier on in the day. It's all about torque. So yeah, bottom end through the middle, and it really gets going on track in that championship. And I promise not to talk about it, and here I am talking about it. I think it's going to be a real threat actually because of that. Because it's capped. The championship is capped at 95 horsepower. So for whatever the teams do to it, it's going to meet that, I'm certain.
Yeah, you can definitely get that performance from this engine, no problem at all. But for the road, I think this kind of power characteristic for this style of bike is probably best suited. I'm a bit surprised that Suzuki didn't give it a little bit more top end, because it is an 8S. It is the GSX-8S.
Yeah, there's no difference, isn't there, between the engine on the S and the engine on the R?
No difference at all. Yeah, it's just forks, riding position, fairing. That's your lot. But it makes a big difference to the bike, as you agree. Yeah. So it's an interesting little category that we're going to be.
What's cool about that, actually, I did some figures as well, and I think at the base price for each of the ones that we've mentioned, there's only about 315 pounds worth of difference between the Honda, the Triumph, the Suzuki, and
the Yamaha.
Yes, the Yamaha.
Yeah, there is. Yeah, the Yamaha is kind of the priciest. I mean, if you add the quick shifter, which I think is only one way, I think it's just a quick shifter up, get the right direction. Yeah. You're talking over £9,000. Now this is 8,899 with the quick shifter, so it's still not a huge difference. Yeah, they're all roughly the same price. Yeah. This does score by having the quick shifter as standard, because the Honda has got an up-only quick shifter, and that's an extra. You have to pay another £262 for that. We reckon the Daytona is going to be about 300 quid for its quick shifter, based on what it costs for the Tiger Sport and the Trident. So for 8,899, you could argue this is pretty well spec'd as well.
It is, isn't it? Yeah, I did some sums on the PCP calculator as well, and I think with a £1,000 deposit over 3 years, it's £133 a month.
Right.
Seems like really good value as a pound for pound product, as an overall package.
Yeah. Again, we can rewind 10 years and talk and think about the Sport 600s, and I'm not sure what they cost 10 years ago, but I know the cost of living hasn't kept up with with inflation, but I still think it's fairly good value. I think for what it's got, the traction control, the good suspension, and the modern technology.
We have to caveat this by saying that we have not yet ridden the 2024 CBR 650R nor the Daytona 660.
No.
So it begs a group test, doesn't it?
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I think that's definitely on the cards. I want
if we have 4 bikes,
to know how they feel. Yeah,
we're going to have Yamaha, Honda, Triumph, Suzuki.
The Suzuki. Yeah, I think so. That makes sense to me. That'll be a good test.
Well, we'll have it. We'll do that then. We'll if there's anything else that you want to see, let us know. Good. Thank you, Simon. Thanks for that insight.
No problem.
Thank you for watching. Thank you for your patience. Hope you've got something from it. Don't forget, we talked about the Facebook group earlier on. Bennett's BikeSocial on Facebook. Come and join us. BikeSocial membership is another thing to mention. It's £6 a month or £60 a year, or it's free if you're a Bennett's customer. Thanks for watching. do the comments, do the subscribes, all that kind of jazz. And we'll see you next time. Cheers.